In today's video, we'll be putting these two floors in along with the rest of the interior trim. So stay tuned and find out how we do it. Alright, so we're going to start by putting the flooring on the bottom level. And when I picked out this wallpaper that I've got in here, I found another piece of scrapbook paper that I liked for the flooring. I think it'll look really cool in there. And what I've done is I took the paper pattern that I made for the ceiling and I cut out leaving a lip, because I'm actually going to cover this area with paper and then put the flooring over that from the sidewalk, from the outside. But that way I won't end up with a gap where my door starts. But I've cut this to fit, and now I am going to put it in just exactly the same way I adhered the wallpaper. So after I get it fastened down with the wallpaper paste, and it gets dry, I'll show you the next step. So I glued this in yesterday with the same Yes Glue paste that I glued the wallpaper in, and it's all dry and set up, and now it's time to make it shiny like a vinyl floor. And I'm just using, again, I'm using Mod Podge, this time in gloss. I love Mod Podge. It seals paper, and it's water-based, it's easy to clean up. It comes in different finishes. I use this stuff a lot. It's definitely a have-to-have in my workshop. And you just brush it on. I'm actually going to pour some in the middle because I want to put on a pretty heavy coat. And then I'm just going to brush it out. That'll be plenty for the whole floor. And the only secret is, do not get this up on your walls because you don't want your wallpaper to be shiny. We are going to put a baseboard trim in, excuse me, a baseboard trim into this room when we are done. Now if you end up with brush strokes, like I can see I'm going to have brush strokes here. That's okay. What I'll do is I can sand it lightly with either a really fine sandpaper or, even better, with a brown paper grocery bag. They make really, really good finishing sandpaper, and they're free. Or almost free. I guess some places you do pay for your grocery sacks now. See, that's all there is to it. I'll get this all smoothed out when I get the camera out of my way so I'm not reaching around the camera. I'll get this nice and smooth, and we'll let it dry, and then I'll show you the next step. I have this all spread. It's still wet, but I wanted to show you a little workshop tip while I'm at it. If you've got a jar like the Mod Podge or your paint, your craft paints, take some plain petroleum jelly on your finger and wipe it all the way around. Don't get it up on the lip so it gets into the product. But if you put it, just coat these threads on your screw where your cap screws on, then your lid won't stick. Even if you spill product down there a little bit, it will keep it lubricated so you'll be able to get your lid back off later. Just thought you might enjoy that little quick tip. Alright, so the Mod Podge is dry. Now I had a couple of bubbles, and the way to take care of those, what happens when you get a bubble, it means that you didn't have glue spread on the entire back of your paper. So poke a hole and use your finger and rub some Mod Podge and get it kind of worked under. And that will minimize wrinkling. I should have done a better job gluing, but it's okay. Now we're going to smooth this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this. It's just a brown paper bag, and it really will knock off a lot. It works like a finishing sandpaper. And now I'm going to put at least one more coat on this of Mod Podge on this floor. When it's all done, I'll come back and show you how it looks. Alright, there's about 3 coats of clear finish on the floor, and it's shiny. It's pretty much dry. I've got a few wet spots, but I'm anxious to move along. So let's see if I can work around the camera and show you how we put in the baseboard trim. So first I cut, this is 1/8 inch by, I think it's 1/4 inch according to my Michael's receipt. I've pre-cut it to length, and I've painted it black on the one side and the one edge. So I'm going to fit it now to make sure. So I put it in here, and let's see if I can get down to where I want to be. And then I'm going to use a clothespin to hold it against the wall, because I want to make sure this is going to fit. And then I've got a piece for here, and don't worry about it flipping out yet, because we're not done yet. Alright. Got those in place, and now I've pre-cut also a piece to fit here. Let's see, which is the top? That's the top. And that will hold that end in. And yes, that all fits. So I'm going to move the camera out of my way, and I'll glue in baseboard trim on here, and then the same thing on the other side, and then I'll be back. Alright, those are all glued in, and I temporarily have a piece of leftover wood that's the correct length holding this board against the walls here in the middle. I just used my normal fast grab tacky for 2 reasons. Number one, it dries clear, so if any of it oozed out, it won't matter. And the second reason is because it grabs really fast, so it will hold these sticks in really quickly. So when this is dry, then we'll move on and do the top floor. Right now that the molding is in, it's time to place our door. So I'm going to, yep, it fits. So what I need to do is put some glue around the opening. I've done some sanding. I had to sand the door and I had to sand the opening, and that's normal because these kits do that. Every time you glue something together or put a coat of paint on it, you change the size, and it may have not been exactly machined correctly, or that extra coat of paint, when we're talking this small, that extra coat of paint can actually make a big difference. So we'll put that glue around there. Make sure you have the outside of the door to the outside, and slide the door in, making sure it is straight up and down. Now, let's see if I can find my pieces I cut. I have my door trim. Okay, that needs to be cut just a skosh. Get this in. Looks good. I'm going to fit this all in, and then I will put glue on these. As soon as I make sure this is going to fit, it's always best to fit it before you put glue on it. And yes, that will fit just the way I want it to. So I'll run a bead of glue. And this trim I'm putting around the door, the sides is just an 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch square piece of wood that I had, because the kit didn't allow for trim around the door, but I don't think the doors look right if you don't put some trim around them. I like my doors to be trimmed out. So, and on this one, because the way the walls were done, the 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch works really well for what I'm doing. And then one more piece, and this is just another piece of the same trim I put on the baseboard. So I'll get glue on this and get everything lined up, and then we get to move upstairs. Well, let's start working on the floor that's going to go in the top floor of the building. And I looked at a couple of different things. One of my needs was I needed a floor that was heavy enough that I could slide it in and out of the building, because if you remember, we wired a lot of lights on top of that top floor for the bottom floor. So I need access in case something goes wrong later. I need to replace a bulb, I need to fix something, or maybe even add another light there. I need access. So I need something heavy weight enough that it will slide in and out. And I wanted to keep this something that would be easily accessible. I looked at several things. I looked at different kinds of cardboards, and I looked at floor tile for real houses. I've used that before, but unfortunately this building, that floor is 13 inches long by about almost 10 inches wide, and the biggest floor tiles were only 12 by 12. So I started playing with different materials, and I picked up this craft foam. I've used craft foam for a lot of stuff. It comes in a 12 by 18 inch sheet. It's soft. It's called Fun Foam. I use it for lots of different things, and I thought, well, it says it's easy to glue. About painting it, and I played with it, and I bought a piece and I cut a chunk off, and I like this. This is going to work. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I've cut this to size. This is cut and fits my floor up there. And I've picked out some paints. I have a whole selection here. These are just tones I want to use. If I had wallpaper with a design on it, I would have chosen colors from that, but I don't. So I've got a terracotta, got a jade green, I have a golden brown, I have a copper. I thought copper would be kind of fun. It's a metallic paint. I have Santa's flesh, light foliage green, I'm reading upside down so it's harder, and burnt sienna. And I put out little drops, not very much, we're not going to need a lot of paint, onto a paper plate. And I have a sponge that's wet. And what I'm going to do is just take these and I'm just going to sponge them. And I'm not worried about mixing colors. I'm going to mix colors. That's kind of the idea. And kind of change direction. And I'll probably do several coats before I'm done. But I want to cover pretty much the entire surface. And by having a big sponge, I can use some corners just with specific colors, or I can mix colors together like I'm doing now. And what I'll do one coat, I'll let it dry. I'm going to try and cover the whole entire surface, like I said, with color. And it's going to look really awful for a while, and then it will start blending together. And if I don't get the texture look that I want with the sponge, then I'll go find a paper towel or maybe an old paint cloth or a washcloth or something else that I can use to stamp in here and really mix these colors. I just want kind of a, not a specific color, I want it to look kind of like those old industrial linoleums that they used to put in like warehouses and buildings and stores and stuff, that they're not really any one color, they're just kind of a blend of lots of different colors. So let me get this painted, and when I'm happy with how it looks, I'll show it to you. Alright, I have this all painted, and I just decided to slip it into the building just so we could see it, and I really like how it looks. It's kind of a, it's just that basic floor that I wanted for this floor. So this is going to work really well. I'll slip it back out now, and when it dries, we'll put the clear coat on it, and then we can start installing it. Alright, this is all dry now, so I'm just going to coat it with the same gloss Mod Podge that I used on the bottom floor. And this one I'm going to kind of do a more of a cross hatch almost on it because of the texture I'm kind of wanting. But you can put it on however you want, really. It doesn't matter. Stuff is really forgiving. I'll get this on. I'll probably end up with 2 coats, maybe 3. When this is dry and nice and shiny, we'll go on to the next step. Alright, the floor for upstairs is finished. I think I put 4 coats of Mod Podge on this to get it nice and shiny. But as you can see looking across, I think it shows in the camera, it looks like a linoleum or vinyl floor. So I'm really happy with that. Now remember, I want to leave access to all of these spots that I've wired. So what I use when I put in the floor up here is, and I think I call it by the correct name, it's carpet tape. It's the same stuff, it's this tape. It's got a paper backing on it. I lay it in. It's actually used in real size houses to keep like area rugs and that kind of thing down to the floor. It's a 2-sided tape, and I'm going to get the corner of the paper started. See, it's just, I've pulled the paper off. You can see that part is really sticky. I always have a couple of rolls of this on hand. I try to not put this over, especially the ends of where my tape wire are. But it's a really strong, I mean, it'll hold a real size area rug down. Like I have a little rug by my front door in my house, and this is what holds it down so that when people walk in and out of the house, it doesn't move all over. So this will really hold, but at the same time, it's not permanent. You can pick it up again. I'm trying to get a corner loose. Get it on first, then I'll get it in. Just put it down on your floor. I usually put some in each corner, a little strip like that. And there's a couple of ways to get this to start. Come on. There we go. Now put 2 in the front, and then we can get the floor slid in. And you will, if you pull your floor out very many times, you will have to replace this tape, but that's easy. Just peel up the pieces left on your dollhouse floor and just put a new one in. It's not very expensive, and it comes in a really big roll. I've used, oh gosh, the roll I've got now I've used in my real house and in my dollhouses for several years probably, and I've still got some left. But I love this stuff because it really does make it easy to take your floors in and out. And I use it when I'm putting down carpet or a hard surface, either one, especially on the second floor of the dollhouse. All right. Scoot our floor in, stick it down, and now we're ready to put our floor moldings in. We're going to do just like we did on the bottom floor. We will put our sides in and then that end. So let me get set up for that, and I'll be right back. Alright, so now we're ready to glue in these moldings. Now I did have to make one adjustment because of the windows being so low. My normal molding wouldn't fit, so I painted a piece of 1/8 inch square for there. So let me get some glue on this. Once again, we'll do both sides, and then we'll do the back. We don't want this down really super tight against our floor. We want it down, but not down. You don't want to glue it to your flooring. I need to clip. And I'm using clothespins out here at the outside edge to clip the ends of those. Now let's get glue on this. This is where it comes in handy if you actually have if you've actually been born with 4 hands to get in there. Take a couple pieces of scrap wood. And there we are. That just needs to dry. I need to get a wet wipe in there and clean up my glue, but since that was on, since it's been finished with a clear finish, it won't stick to it. So the glue will just wipe up. And now the inside, as far as the structure part of the inside and finishing, this is all done. When this is dry, I'll pop out these braces and we'll be ready to do the roofing next week. So tune back in next week and see how we do the roof. Talk to you later. Bye.